The Cemetery Murders. A Raven Darkblade Mystery. Chapter 3. 6 feet. Under. 3 feet apart. Friday morning descended on Crimson City, like a punctual relative you forgot you invited. Inevitable and vaguely disappointing. Detective Raven Darkblade stood in the police station, currently 5 feet 9 inches, with Friday energy, reading a report about the tea analysis while eating a donut that was definitely past its prime. "The embalming fluid is genius," Jenny Shouts Loud announced, somehow making poison sound like a compliment. "It mimics the exact symptoms of broken heart syndrome." "Hearts can be syndrome?" Raven asked, his height dipping to 5 feet 8 inches with medical confusion. "I thought Syndrome was a movie villain." "That's Syndrome from The Incredibles, Raven." "Oh, different Syndrome." He made a note on his napkin. "Multiple syndromes exist. So Digger is definitely the killer?" "Definitely. We're arresting him this morning." Jenny gathered her files with the efficiency of someone who'd never knocked over a coffee mug in their life. "But first, we need to check on the new widow." "Barbara Bleak? We saved her yesterday." "Different Barbara. Barbara Grimm. Her husband Walter died this morning." Raven's height shot to 6 feet 1 inch with name-based alarm. "Another Barbara? How many Barbaras are there? Is it Barbara season?" "It's a common name for that generation," Jenny explained. "Like all the Jennifers in the 80s. "You're a Jenny." "Different thing entirely." Before Raven could explore the Jennifer-Jenny dichotomy, Corvus Lightknife entered with his morning precision. Today's suit was slate gray with black accents, making him look like an expensive shadow at dawn. "Detectives," he said, placing a folder on Raven's desk at the exact angle that made everything else look crooked. "Walter Grimm. Died at 6:47 a.m. Natural causes. Heart attack while reading the morning paper." "What was he reading?" Raven asked, pulling out his notepad. Today, a parking ticket he'd gotten yesterday. "The obituaries," Corvus said flatly. "That's ironic," Raven observed. "Or coincidental. Or ironically coincidental." "It's suspicious," Jenny corrected. "Digger O'Graves was seen on their street at 6 a.m. "Delivering morning tea?" Raven guessed. "Measuring the yard," Corvus said, making 3 quick notes. The neighbor saw him with surveying equipment. "He's measuring her yard before she's dead?" Raven's height fluctuated to 5 feet 10 inches with measurement confusion. "That seems presumptuous and rude, presumptuously rude." "We need to protect Barbara Grimm," Jenny decided, "before Digger gets to her with his death tea." They drove to the Grimm residence on Melancholy Avenue. Crimson City Street Naming Committee had apparently been going through something. Raven parked halfway on the curb because parallel parking was a suggestion, not a rule. Barbara Grimm answered the door, looking exactly like someone whose husband had just died. Confused, devastated, and somehow already holding a casserole from a neighbor. "Mrs. Grimm?" Jenny showed her badge. "We're here about your husband." "Oh, are you handling the arrangements?" "Mr. O'Graves said he'd stop by later with the paperwork." "No," Raven said loudly, his height jumping to 6 feet 2 inches with protective energy. "Don't let him in. He has dangerous tea." Barbara stared at him. "Dangerous tea?" "He means," Corvus interjected smoothly, "we'd like to discuss some concerns about recent cemetery practices." "I don't understand." Barbara set down her casserole, which smelled like sympathy and too much cheese. "Is something wrong?" "Mrs. Grimm," Jenny said carefully, "several elderly people have died shortly after their spouses, all after drinking tea from Digger O'Graves." "The Eternal Rest blend?" "He mentioned that. Said it helps with grief." Barbara's eyes widened. "Are you saying he's poisoning widows?" "Allegedly," Corvus said, making a note. "Definitely," Jenny countered. "Probably," Raven offered, trying to find middle ground. They explained about the embalming fluid, the pattern, the pre-dug graves. Barbara's face went through several expressions, landing on something between horror and indignation. "That lazy bastard," she said, surprising everyone with her language. "He's killing people because he doesn't want to dig separate holes." "That's our theory," Jenny confirmed. "I mean, I understand back pain," Barbara continued. "Walter had sciatica for years, but murder seems like an extreme solution." "Most murder is extreme," Raven observed philosophically. "Moderate murder would just be mild assault." His phone buzzed. A text from Summer. "How's the case going? Any more death tea?" He texted back. "Protecting Barbara #2 from tea." Why are all old ladies named Barbara? Generation thing. Like all the Ashleys in the 90s. Be safe. "Raven!" Jenny's shout brought him back to the present. "We're setting up protection for Mrs. Grimm." "Right. Protection." Raven stood up, immediately knocking over a lamp that had been nowhere near him. "I'll guard the front door." "Actually," Corvus said, his pen clicking once with purpose, "I have a better idea. We let Digger come. Catch him in the act." "Use me as bait?" Barbara asked. "More like a lure?" Corvus suggested. Less violent connotations. "I'm in," Barbara said immediately. "Walter would love this. He always said our retirement was too quiet." They set up surveillance in the Grimm house. Raven was stationed in the kitchen where he couldn't break anything valuable. Jenny in the living room with recording equipment, and Corvus in the study with perfect sightlines to all entrances. At exactly 2 p.m. Digger was apparently very punctual about his murder attempts. There was a knock at the door. "Mrs. Grimm!" Digger's voice carried through the door. "I'm here about the arrangements, and I brought tea." Barbara opened the door, playing her part. "Mr. O'Graves, please come in." Digger entered, carrying his tin of death tea and a measuring tape, because apparently he multitasked his murders with grave planning. His back cracked as he walked, sounding like someone playing a xylophone made of pain. "I'm so sorry for your loss," he said, setting down the tea tin. "I brought my special blend. Helps with the grief." "That's very kind," Barbara said. Her acting skills impressive for someone who'd just been widowed. "I also need to measure for the plot," Digger continued, pulling out his tape. Easier to dig them together. More efficient. Before I'm dead? Barbara asked pointedly. Oh, you'll be together soon enough, Digger said, then caught himself. I mean eventually. We all die eventually. Some sooner than others, Barbara said, staring at the tea. Exactly. You understand? Digger started preparing the tea with practiced movements. 3 days typically, sometimes 4. Depends on constitution. From the kitchen, Raven watched through a crack in the door. His height had stabilized at 5 feet 10 inches, his surveillance altitude. He was taking notes on a cereal box he'd found, writing Digger making death tea next to the nutritional information. That smells terrible, Barbara observed as the tea steeped. Family recipe, Digger said proudly. The smell is part of the process, breaks down resistance. To grief? To various things. He poured her a cup. Drink it while it's hot. More effective that way. More effective at killing me? Barbara asked directly. Digger froze. What? Now! Jenny shouted, bursting from the living room. But Raven, startled by the shout, jerked backward, crashed through the kitchen door, tripped over Corvus, who had appeared from nowhere as usual, and fell directly onto Digger, who dropped the tea all over himself. No, Digger cried. Not on me. It's for her. For her. You're under arrest for murder, Jenny announced at maximum volume. Multiple murders, Corvus corrected, making notes even while untangling himself from Raven. Tea murders, Raven added, his height reaching 6 feet 0 inches, with arrest excitement. The worst kind of murders because they ruin tea for everyone. Digger struggled under Raven's accidental pin. You don't understand. The system is broken. Separate holes for separate souls is outdated policy. My back can't take it anymore. So you killed people? Jenny asked incredulously. I expedited natural processes, Digger protested. They were going to die anyway. Everyone dies. I just made it more convenient. For you, Barbara said, looking disgusted. You killed loving spouses for convenience. For efficiency, Digger corrected. Do you know how long it takes to dig a proper grave? 6 hours. My knees are shot, my back sounds like a haunted house, and my shoulders are basically decorative at this point. That's not an excuse for murder, Corvus said, helping restrain Digger with precisely measured force. It's a reason, though, Digger insisted. A logical reason. 1 hole instead of 2. Half the work. The union wouldn't listen. The cemetery board wouldn't listen. So I took matters into my own hands. And put embalming fluid into tea, Raven said, finally understanding. That's not taking matters into your hands. That's putting matter into tea. Bad matter. Death matter. As they led Digger away, he kept protesting about union regulations and the burden of repetitive stress injuries. Raven felt almost bad for him. Almost. Wait, Raven said suddenly, his height shooting to 6 feet 2 inches with realization. If Digger is arrested, who's going to dig the graves? Everyone paused. The cemetery has other employees, Jenny said. But Digger said he was the only one who knew the patterns, the soil density, the optimal angles. Raven pulled out his cereal box notes. Without him, How will they know where to dig? They'll figure it out, Corvus said dismissively. But he was making notes. Lots of notes. Later at the station, Digger was providing a full confession, complete with charts and graphs about efficiency ratings and ergonomic improvements. Raven sat at his desk, texting Summer. Caught the killer. He was murdering for his back pain. Is that the weirdest motive ever? Summer replied quickly. In Crimson City? That's barely top 10. Remember the ventriloquist dummy? She had a point. Corvus appeared at Raven's desk with his characteristic silence. The case is resolved, he said, but something in his tone suggested disappointment. You okay? Raven asked. You seem less satisfied than usual, which is already pretty unsatisfied. I had my own plans for this case, Corvus said cryptically. They've been disrupted. Plans for what? Corvus made a note, then another. His pen clicked once, precisely, ominously. Nothing important, he lied smoothly. Just some evidence I was planning to redistribute. Before Raven could ask what that meant, Chief Gruff called everyone into the conference room for congratulations and coffee that tasted like victory, mixed with disappointment. 3 widows saved, the chief announced. Excellent work. Technically, we only saved 1, Raven pointed out. The other 2 we were too late. Details, the chief dismissed. The point is, the killer is caught. But what about the cemetery? Raven asked. They still need someone to dig graves. And Digger was really organized, even if he was murdery. They'll hire someone new, Jenny said. Someone with a better back, Corvus added. And better tea, Raven concluded. As the meeting broke up, Corvus pulled Raven aside. You ruined something today, he said quietly. I ruin things every day, Raven replied cheerfully. Which thing specifically? I had evidence planted at Morticia Embalmer's funeral home to frame her, but you caught the real killer too quickly. Oh, Raven's height dropped to 5 feet 8 inches. Sorry? No, you're not. You're right, I'm not. Framing innocent people is mean. Corvus made 7 notes in rapid succession. This won't be forgotten, Darkblade. Good. I like being remembered, even for ruining things. Corvus walked away, his notebook nearly full of observations about Raven's destructive incompetence. Raven's phone buzzed. Summer again? Dinner tonight? Somewhere with no tea, no graves, and no beetles. He smiled and texted back. Yes. I know a place with terrible coffee and good sandwiches. No murder guaranteed. But this is Crimson City, so no promises. As he left the station, Raven felt good about the case. They'd saved Barbara Grimm, caught Digger O'Graves, and nobody had died during the arrest, though Digger would probably have tea-related nightmares. But something nagged at him. Corvus's disappointment, the planted evidence, the framed job that didn't happen. Probably nothing, he told himself, his height settling at 5 feet 10 inches with dismissal. In Crimson City, it was never nothing. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, He had a date with someone who understood that sometimes the weirdest motives made the most sense, even if that sense was nonsense. To be continued. Romantically. Author's note. This chapter is dedicated to everyone who's ever wanted to murder someone for ergonomic reasons but chose therapy instead. Also to Barbara Grimm, who deserves an acting award for her performance as Bait. Any resemblance to actual cemetery staffing shortages is purely coincidental. Please remember, murder is never an acceptable solution to workplace injuries, no matter how much your back hurts.